Hello everyone, welcome to the series on building a line following robots. And in this particular video, I'm going to show you how to build one of the first subsystems, which is being able to identify when your analog line sensor is on a black or a white surface. So we need the analog line sensor and the Aduino. And to do this, you can see the analog line sensor, it has out, VCC, and ground. So I've been able to connect the out to analog pin A0 on the Aduino, the VCC to 5 volt on the Aduino, and the ground from the sensor to one of your ground ports on the Aduino. The first thing to do is, since the out pin from the sensor is connected to your A nuts, we're going to declare the variable. So int, we can call it whatever we want. Let's call it signal pin, and this is connected to a nut. You can call it out pin, whatever you want. Next, we want to read values from this, and we're going to call this is going to be our sensor value. And we initialize this to be 0, and that should be all for our variables for now. Next, we do the serial begin. And the serial begin is a way to ensure that your computer and the Arduino board, that they are both communicating at the same baud rate. And the 9600 means that the speed of this communication is 9600 bits per second. So you just have to declare that to ensure everything works fine. Next, we do the pin mode with the M in cap, just to tell the system that your signal pin is an input. If it's an output, you replace it with an output, okay? And we should be done with the void setup. Next, we go to the void loop, where we now run the whole process. So we want our sensor value to analog read from a nut. So how do we do that? We say sensor value was equals to, we want it to analog read a nut. But what is our a nut? It's our signal pin. And that is good. Next, we want to see what it's reading. So we want to print it out. So it's serial.print. And what are we printing? The sensor value. Okay. And this should be good for now. If there's any error in the code, it's going to tell us. So let's first of all make sure our pin is out. It's connected to the right cord, and then from tools you could make sure you select Arduino board, and then let's verify it. Okay, let's see if there's any error. Oh, there are no errors, so that means the code is good. So next we want to see what it's printing, but before we do that, we have to upload this code to the Arduino board. So everything is good at this point. Next, we'll go to our serial monitor to see what values we're getting for our sensor values. Okay, but as you can see, the values are all on the same line, so we're going to make sure they enter the next line. So to do that, we'll say print ln, which means print each value on a different line. Let's upload this again and see what happens. Good, so we can say it's now printing the sensor values on different lines, but it's sampling so fast. Let's put a little delay here, so it doesn't sample that fast. Let's put 200 milliseconds, so it's going to be sampling every 200 milliseconds to give us a value. So let's upload this again. There you go, it's now a bit slower. So the next, let's see, I'm going to make this bigger so we can see the actual values we're getting here. So now we're just looking at the serial monitor, and I'm going to place the sensor on the black line and see what happens. So we're getting values around 900, 800. What if one is on the white line? On the white line, we're getting values below 70, below 60. So we have low values on the white line, and then on the black line, we have higher values. So at least we can differentiate between the white surface and the black surface, which is good. Let me pull this down and zoom out a little bit. So we can differentiate between the two at this point. So the next time I'm going to show you how to map those values, because if you look at this is running from 0 to 1023. You can map it. You don't necessarily have to map it, but I just want to throw that in so that you know how to do that. So to do that, we have to declare another variable. Let's call it int. Call it map value. And we'll set it to 0 as usual. And we come over here and we'll say map value. This is going to be equals to, what are we trying to do? We're trying to map our sensor value to a different value. So we'll put here a sensor value, and the sensor value runs from 0 to 1023, but we want to map this to only run from 0 to 255, and we'll put this in, and we want to see what the sensor value is going to be. So what do? We come down here, we want to print it with serial. Let me do it under with serial that print. Now we're going to print map value. Good. So let's upload this and see what happens. If there's an error, it's going to tell us. Yeah, so the error says that the sensor value wasn't declared. So here we have our sensor value. We missed an E here. That should be good. Let's upload it again and make sure it fixes our problems. It's good. So let's go to our serial monitor and see. So we have these two values, but they are on the same line. We don't want that. We want to create a space in between them. And so I can clean this up, put the next line here, and to put a space, we're gonna say serial that's print. This time around, put the quotation mark, backspace, and a T. So this will create the space to differentiate between the two. So let's see, there's an error again. Okay, the error, we did not put a semicolon. Sorry about that. It looks so good. Let's go to a serial monitor. So the serial monitor, now we have our two values, okay? So let me increase a little bit. So the first value is our sensor value. The next is what is being mapped to. And recall, we are mapping 0 to 1023 to 0 to 225. And as you can see, it's now on black, which is a high number. It's close to 225. When we go to white, which is low, it drops down. Let's do one better. Let's map this to negative 255 to 255. So that means when it's 0 on sensor, when it's low on sensor value, you should be getting a negative number. So let's see, on white, it's low, so it's negative. On black, good. So we now know how to map values to whatever bits we want it to be in. Next, we're going to go ahead and now ensure that the value that we're reading, it's going to be not just numbers anymore, but it's going to tell us when it's on a black or a white surface. So to do that, we're going to use an if statement, okay? So we'll say if, so it's your choice. You could either use the map value or the sensor value, whatever works for you. I'm going to use the sensor value. I'm going to use the map value, after which I'll use the sensor value. So let's say if the map value, if it is less than 0, okay, if it's less than 0, that means it's on the white, right? We want the Arduino to serial.parent ln white. We'll put our semicolon. Put our semicolon, okay? Then if, then if it's not less than 0, which is else, which means it's greater than 0, which means it should be reading black. We want it to serial.parent ln black, and that is that. And at this point, we don't need all this additional, values here. This serial print here, we could take that off by putting 2// we can comment that out, or you can put 1// and asterisk, and then whatever you want it to end the commenting, you put asterisk and slash there. So let's see, so this works. Let's see if we can read black and white at this point. Okay, there's an error. What is the error? Okay, the serial, the S should be in caps, so we missed that. Hold on. S in caps and S in cap. Okay, so let's upload this. Now it's good. So let's look at our serial monitor. Sweet. And let's test what we've done. Let's put it on the white and see if it's going to give us white. So it's reading white. Let's take it to the black. It's reading black. White. Black. So we've been able to come up with a code that can help us identify when the sensor is on a black line or when it's on a white line. Next, we can also use the sensor value to do this. All we need to do is to go over here and say if what we have is the sensor value, and if it is less than, when it was on the white, I think it was less than 150 or so. If it's less than 150, just make it 200. It should read white. Else, which means it's greater than 200, it should read black. So let's upload this. So let's try it out. So now we should be on white, which is good. Let's take it to black. So our sensor is responding fine. Take it back to white. And take it back to black. And you have to place the sensor as close to the surface as much as you can. So this now works. So the next thing we're going to do is to combine array of sensors. I'm going to bring in 2 sensors and 3 sensors, and we're going to be able to detect if the sensors are at the middle of the black tape, or if it is towards the left or towards the right, or if it's towards the far right, or if it's towards the far left. You can use as many sensors as you want, but I'm going to do this with 2 and 3 sensors, and I'm going to show you the code, which is going to be in the next video. Thank you very much, guys.